Hey everyone, thanks for joining us over on the Booked YouTube channel.
So we've been talking about YouTube a lot lately, right? Because we really love the fact that people listen/watch a static image on YouTube, but we thought we'd do something a little different. So about a week ago, we posted our review for Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, and we thought we would actually do a shorter video recap. So this is our first time doing this. Bear with us. We're going to work through some stuff here, but please leave us some comments letting us know what you liked, what you didn't like, and what you'd like to see us do differently in the future.
All right, so this is intended to be just a really quick, to the point discussion about the book. So I'm just going to dive right into the synopsis of the book so that you know what we're talking about. Here is the synopsis. Piranesi's house is no ordinary building. Its rooms are infinite, its corridors endless. Its walls are lined with thousands upon thousands of statues, each one different from all the others. Within the labyrinth of halls, an ocean is imprisoned. Waves thunder up staircases. Rooms are flooded in an instant. But Piranesi is not afraid. He understands the tides, and he understands the pattern of the labyrinth itself. He lives to explore the house. There is one other person in the house, a man called the Other, who visits Piranesi twice a week and asks for help with research into a great and secret knowledge. But as Piranesi explores, evidence emerges of another person, and a terrible truth begins to unravel, revealing a world beyond the one Piranesi has always known.
So if you're here, you might already be familiar with Piranesi. Hell, you may have actually read it. So what I'll say is that synopsis, it's like a pretty weird book. We're not going to go into kind of our breakdown. If you want to go back, again, one episode, you can hear a full breakdown. We probably spend a little over half an hour kind of talking about plot points in the book. We actually do a spoiler talk over on our Patreon, which I'll mention again a little later. But I guess what I'll just say is, Rob, what things did you particularly like about this book?
Yeah, like Livia said, it was definitely kind of out there. So the things that stuck out to me that made me enjoy the book the most were how cleverly plotted the book was. We definitely follow the perspective of the protagonist, who is very unaware of a lot of things that are going on, and that information is revealed to us as it is to him. But the way that it's plotted made it very enjoyable to see how things reveal. Other than that, because we're dealing with kind of a naive character as a protagonist, or someone who's like things are happening to, it's easy to just get behind this person and root for them and hope for the best. So there's a lot of empathy that's easily built into following the main character. And then otherwise, as much as it is like a fun book to follow for its fantastical elements, and just discovering all of these wild magical things that are happening, it does introduce deeper thoughts about like themes of identity and the types of things that you want in your life, where we feel that our necessities in life versus what actually makes us happy. So on top of the fact that it's a crazy out there story with a really, really solid plot, it actually also provokes thought about like some deeper themes. So I'd say that's my top reasons I enjoyed the book. But Livius, what would you say are some of the things that you like the most?
I'm pretty much on board with you. First of all, Piranesi, I believe, is a universally likable character. And it's because you said naive. I'm going to say simple, and I think we kind of mean the same thing there. But he's just kind of a simple guy, just trying to do his thing, and he's super easy, like as you said, to get behind. And then the plotting. So pretty early on in this book, astute readers will notice that something seems a little off. And again, I'm not going to go into it here. You can check out the full review for that. But that made me want to get to the resolution of this book more so than probably any other book I've read this year, if not farther. So while it's not necessarily a page turner in like the action that's happening, the way the story reveals itself leads you to want to continue turning pages. So again, I paced myself because it's a fairly short book. I think it's only about 260 pages, so it's a little bit on the short side. But yeah, those are definitely my top two things for sure.
All right, that being said, in our normal full reviews that we do on our podcast, we actually have a very established rating system where we rate 8 different categories on a scale of 1 to 10, and then we average it out. And so we have a very specific rating system. But for this, since it's just quick, we're just going to give overall impressions. So based on your thoughts, Livius, how much would you say you recommend this to people?
I would very highly recommend this. Because I think it could capture, it has a universal appeal. It's probably one of the most recommendable books I think we've reviewed this year. And there's a couple other that come to mind, but this is definitely, I'd say, in the top 3 out of the, 30-ish books we've done in 2020.
Yep.
And you?
I feel the same way. I think it has more of a universal appeal than a lot of the books that we end up reading. But there's so many facets of the book that are just so positive, and it's obvious that the author is very good at what they do. And I could see many people enjoying this. So of the books that we read, this is probably one of the ones that I would think to recommend more readily than some others, for sure.
It's safe and easy. Like I'm trying to picture the person who really dislikes this book, the person who gives this 2 stars. I'm confused. You know what I mean? And there's not a ton of ratings out for it yet. I checked on Amazon a little while before we started doing this. And, it's the same things we said here. It seems to have a universal appeal. So if you're not familiar with Susanna Clarke, and we weren't really, I'd seen the Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell BBC production a few years back. I know Rob was not familiar with it. Here's what I will say. Fans of Aaron Morgenstern, Neil Gaiman, people who are into magical realism, although I don't think that's necessarily a spoiler for the book, but I think those are definitely the types of people that would find this rather appealing.
Absolutely agree. Now, again, since this is our first short format video review type situation, we would love to hear your feedback. So if you liked this, if you liked how succinct it was, if you liked cutting through all of the, skipping me telling stories about my childhood and stuff like that, leave a comment. Let us know. If you think that we could do something different to tighten up the format, or if there was information that we didn't provide that you thought would be helpful, again, let us know in the comments, because if this is something that you want, we want to make it as good and useful as possible.
And here's what I'll say, because that sounds like the plea for comments so that it gets higher in the algorithm. Rob is very genuinely serious about giving us input on how we can improve. I just want you to comment, like, and subscribe like everybody else does. So share it with your friends if you're interested. If you look over Rob's shoulder, I'm not even going to try to say it's his left shoulder. That's just a small portion of the books we've reviewed on Booked over the last 9+ years. There's a lot of them. So I said, I think we're up to around 30 this year. The last 100 or so episodes can be found here on YouTube. But if you want to just listen to this in your car and not watch YouTube videos while you're driving like I do, you can also catch us on all the podcast platforms.
As Livius alluded to earlier in this video, we also have a Patreon. And the reason I bring that up is for some books that we do reviews on in our normal podcast, we also on Patreon do additional spoiler talk, like an additional conversation talking specifically about spoilers that we can't talk about in our normal review. So anybody who supports us on Patreon for $2 a month or more gets those bonus episodes every time we do spoiler talk, which for the current, the book we're talking about now, I think the last 9 episodes have had that bonus spoiler content. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, or if you just want to support us because you like what we're doing, patreon.com/booked, as little as $1 a month, $2 a month if you want to do the spoiler talk.
No limit on the top end. As much a month as you want.
Yeah, for sure.
So thanks for tuning in to this kind of our inaugural edition of, I don't even know what we're going to call this. There might be a clever title. By the time you guys see this, we're not sure. We're kind of working through it. But thanks, and check back soon for another episode of Booked.